Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel, or if it is your first time, welcome especially. I'm Sally. It means a lot that you've stopped by. Today's video is going to be a what I eat in a week. Going to be sharing some of my favorite hearty, autumnal, not necessarily autumnal, but more kind of as it's cooling down and you're just really craving those hearty, nourishing meals. So this week, that's what we're focusing on, and these are all going to be recipes that I'm making for dinner, but my strategy each week is to make enough dinner whenever possible that I have leftovers for lunch the next day. It saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money, and it makes sure that I'm getting a good nourishing lunch in. So I need some inspiration too, though. I always love to hear new and different ideas, so please let me know in the comments if you have a favorite hearty dinner that you have been loving recently. I would love to kind of add to my repertoire. And of course, please like this video if you like what you see here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's hop into it. For dinner tonight, I am making my cilantro lime braised pork, and this is actually a recipe that I have shared in full in its own video, so I will link that in the description box if you want to go check it out. But I love this because while it takes some prep ahead of time, it is overall pretty hands-off. You just season the meat, and then ultimately it bakes for a couple hours to a few hours, or braises more accurately, and it produces just this incredibly rich, savory dish, but that is also very aromatic, and just because of the cilantro, it has a lot of depth. However, if you don't like cilantro, you could do this with a bunch of different herbs. Really pick your herb, and you will be good to go. Tonight, I'm gonna have this with some buttery potatoes, and I think I'm just gonna make a little side salad with a Dijon vinaigrette. Often, I will have this with garlicky green beans. However, the green beans I was going to get were completely sold out, so didn't do that tonight, but it will be fantastic nonetheless. It's the next day and I'm getting ready to make dinner, but it's been kind of a long work day, probably my longest of the week, and then got home, had to take care of a couple things, had to go to the gym, and so it's on the later side. I say that at 5:30, but when you're up early, it feels late. So anyways, every week I try to get at least one meal that I can just throw in a pan or throw in the oven and it will be done really easily. And so I think tonight is when we're gonna have that. I got some teriyaki chicken from Trader Joe's and we have some leftover rice. And then I will probably just heat up some frozen peas. Does anyone else love frozen peas? I feel like that's an unpopular opinion, but they're like pure comfort food to me. So let me show you this chicken. It's not perfect by any means. I'm never claiming to be perfect in terms of, you know, the things that I'm eating. There's no such thing, but I love the Trader Joe's frozen items because they're pretty clean and they have pretty great options that are still nutritious and relatively well sourced for when you're in a pinch. So here it is, barbecue teriyaki chicken, and if you look at the ingredients, they're mostly really good ingredients. You've got the chicken, you've got water, sugar, soy sauce, 2 different kinds, and that does have, you know, a few ingredients in it itself. As you can see, it does have some cornstarch in it, salt, lime juice concentrate, ginger, garlic, and green onion. I realize that may have not been the best for you to see. So we'll just toss this into the pan, get heating up, pick up our leftover rice and our peas, and we'll be all set. This is especially nice as someone who loves Asian food on a chilly evening. Nice warm teriyaki dish. Here it is, all together, nothing fancy, but it was easy and quick and means I can have a stress-free evening just hanging out and resting. It is once again the next day, and tonight we are going to have a crispy spatchcock chicken, some roasted delicata squash, and some roasted, or I might do them in the pan because of limited oven space, but Brussels sprouts, like maple bourbon Brussels sprouts. So good. Okay, so first things first, actually yesterday I went ahead and spatchcocked this chicken. I know it's a really funny word, but it's where you cut the wings off, you cut the spine out of the chicken. It kind of shows you right here, and then you press down on the breastbone, and so it flattens it. It's gonna cook faster. You're gonna have more surface area to get nice and crispy on the outside. And this book is what I always consult. It is Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. my favorite cookbook of all time. I will link it in the description box because I think that everybody should own this. But I have a really hot cast iron skillet preheating in the oven. Then we're gonna start cooking this, and we'll need to get to chopping up our Brussels and our delicata squash. For the chicken, I've put my cast iron over the stove, let it heat up for a little bit in the oven, but you can do it just on the stove. I'm adding just a touch of olive oil, and we'll wait just a second till it's kind of glistening. We're gonna put the chicken breast down on the pan for about 6 to 8 minutes, then I will flip it around and I'll put it in the oven. As you saw, I did let that chicken get just a little bit too crispy. Regrettably, that's not the first time I've done that, just had the heat up too high. However, it will still be delicious. Just speaking from experience, we'll just have to avoid those few parts of skin that got a little bit too black. And I have decided actually to go ahead and roast the Brussels sprouts. Figure I'll just pop these all in the oven as soon as the chicken comes out because it needs to cool. Take advantage, or I guess make the most of the loose leaves. I find those to be the best part. They get super crispy and nice. So that's why I cut them into quarters, so a few more of the leaves would fall off. I'm going to give both the Brussels and the squash a little bit of oil. This is olive oil. I make sure that I source my olive oil really well and that it is fresh and truly olive oil and from the same batch, not mixed all together, from a bunch of different batches, and it really does make a difference. Both are also going to get a little bit of kosher salt. I find that this works best for roasting veggies, but I always use non-iodinized even when I'm using kosher salt. I'm finishing the squash with just a little bit of black pepper. And then our Brussels sprouts, they're actually going to get just a little bit of maple syrup and a little bit of whiskey. Sounds weird, but it tastes so darn good. Don't need much. This is actually maple whiskey too. Samuel might yell at me. He wouldn't yell at me actually for real, but he might fuss at me when he finds out that I have put some of this on the Brussels sprouts because it's very tasty. But that will do. Just a splash. Yesterday we were trying to take a proper rest day, so I didn't talk to the camera, but I did get some footage of the supper that I made. It was so good. I made a hearty autumnal beef stew, and actually a couple days prior I made some of my own bone broth, using this time primarily beef femur bones because that's what I was able to get my hands on, but I also had those leftovers from the chicken I spatchcocked the other night, so like the spine of it and the chicken wings, so I tossed those on the pan with some veggies with the beef bones before, you know, roasting them and making the broth. And then for the stew itself, I browned some grass-fed stew beef, removed that from the pan, added some onion, garlic, some spices. I think this time had paprika, had some basil. Honestly, we were super short on herbs. So I just worked with what I had and it turned out great. And then after that had gotten nice and brown, I added, you know, some red wine, probably about a half a cup. That really does enhance the flavor of your stew, makes it super rich and well-rounded, and not just rich in terms of fattiness, but I mean depth of flavor. And then after that, added a little bit of flour to thicken it up slightly, added back in the stew beef, some chopped carrots. I had a leftover delicata squash, so I chopped that up and added that to the stew as well. Covered it with the bone broth, and then about, I think I added like a cup to a cup and a half more just plain water, filtered water of course, and I let that simmer for about an hour until everything was nice and tender. And I'm about to heat some up now for lunch, but it is delicious. You know, even more delicious kind of the second day after, because the flavors have longer to meld together, and you can definitely simmer it for, you know, longer than that. We were kind of running out of time, so that's how much time I had. You can also do it in the crock pot, just, I don't know, probably 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours depending on high or low setting. Throw all that stuff in there. It's really pretty hard to mess up this kind of thing, but serving it with some crusty sourdough bread, and it's just one of my very favorite meals, especially this time of year. Tonight, I am just gonna make a super simple kind of tomato meat sauce and have it with some pasta. Going to brown a couple pounds of ground beef that I have pulled out of the freezer, and then I'm gonna add a can of fire roasted tomatoes, another great place to just splash in a little bit of red wine, some herbs here as well, fresh or powdered garlic, either will do the trick. If you have fresh basil, that's a great addition. You know, salt, a little bit of pepper. Doesn't need to be too crazy. You can throw in some fresh tomatoes as well. Mix it all up and just serve that over your pasta of choice. Really easy, hearty, and nutritious dinner. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments what kind of videos you would like to see. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, of course, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Have a good day, whatever time it is for you. Until next time, bye y'all.